Hi everyone, welcome to Gnan Cloud Garage. In this session, I'm going to talk about how to configure ESXi 8 for iSCSI shared storage using HPE Nimble Storage. So in our demo environment, we have vSphere and it is connected with HPE Nimble Storage. Okay, so before jump into the actual concept, let's quickly recap our iSCSI storage architecture. Okay. So iSCSI storage architecture, here is the high level overview. Let me start explaining from top to bottom. Let's say we have a disk array and it is considered as a one storage box. Within a storage box, this gray color icon, within this storage box, we have a disk array. It's running with multiple disk. So the entire this box we consider as a iSCSI storage system, and within the disk array we have a multiple physical hard drives, and using this multiple hard drives, grouping of multiple disk is nothing but a LUN, logical unit number, LUN. So we have a multiple LUNs are created, and within the storage system we have a two storage process. SP means storage processor. So storage processor A, storage processor B. The reason for two storage processor is it provides a multipathing. In case of one storage processor is down, we can access to the another storage processor. Okay, and it will provide you the iSCSI target IP addresses from the storage processor 1 and storage processor 2. And to connect iSCSI storage, we no need a fiber channel switch. We can use normal network IP based network switches enough. And that is called TCP IP network. Using the normal network switch, we can connect to our multiple ESXi host. Here host means ESX servers. And even in the ESX server, to communicate to our iSCSI storage box, the pre-requirements are we require a server with iSCSI initiator. That means we should have either hardware HBA, host bus adapter. That means hardware HBA cards are the separate physical cards we have to insert in our servo motherboard itself, and we can also insert in a PCA slot. But when comes to the software iSCSI, there is no physical card. We can just configure the software iSCSI on a ESXi host level. Okay, so any of the host hardware iSCSI or software iSCSI is minimum requirement to connect to our iSCSI storage system. Okay, and normally storage team will prepare a multiple LUNs, and this LUN they will allocate it to our ESXi host. Once they confirm, we can add this LUN at our ESXi host level as a data store. Like we can create data store 1, data store 2, and so on. And even the quantity of data store also, it's subjected to be our customer requirement. Some customers may prepare a 2 TB LUN, some customer may create 5 TB LUN, they may create more than 5 TB LUNs also. Okay, it depends on our requirement. We can make our actual LUN sizes. In our storage level, we call it as LUN, but the same LUN, when we assign it to ESXi host, we call it as a data store. Okay, so now quickly talk about the iSCSI shared storage pre-implementation steps. So what is the pre-implementation steps is based on our architecture, we require a one storage system. So for our easy understanding, I took the example of HPE Nimble Storage. This Nimble Storage, we have a two storage processor. It's connected to a normal network switch. From the network switch, we have a two cables connected to our ESXi host. Not only one ESX, multiple ESX also have a same connectivities. Okay, so our first point for before implementing the iSCSI shared storage, we have to validate our pre-implementation steps. That is iSCSI connectivity between ESXi and HPE Nimble Storage. The connection should be established physically. Normally, our cable vendors will help us to do all the cable connectivities from ESX to physical switch to storage system. Okay, that is the first step. Let's say our validation is completed. We already have a connection. And the second point, HPE recommends that dedicate at least two physical NICs to iSCSI storage access. Even our ESXi host level, we require minimally two connections. That is the recommendation from principal vendor HPE. So even in this diagram, I put the from the vSphere, we have two connections connected to switch. Again, from the switch, we have a two connections. The purpose of assigning a two minimal at least two physical NICs recommendation reason is in case one connection is down, either at a switch level or at our ESX host level, any one connection down, there will be no impact our production. Still, our production can accessible using the another alternative path. Okay, that is the importance of second point. Okay, this validation also okay, but the if you want to observe this connectivity, this is the first point is physical connection, and the second point is we can do it on a ESXi host level. This point I will quickly log into our lab system and I will show you the steps. Okay, so let me connect to our lab system, and we have a ESXi host 8 version. So log into ESXi host using vSphere ESXi host client. So once we log into our ESXi host, to verify our how many connections we have, you can select the ESXi host. In the left side, you can go to the networking tab. In our networking tab, we have multiple tabs are available here. You can go to the directly to the physical NICs. As per HPE recommendation, we should have minimally two network connections. See, we already have how many network connections enable are four network connections are enabled. VMNIC 0, VMNIC 1, 2, 3. So as per our principal vendor HPE recommendation, minimally two NICs, we already have more than two NICs. And another point what they mention is HPE recommend two NICs specifically for iSCSI storage access. So this point also we can verify in our lab. So two NICs specifically dedicated for iSCSI storage. That means if you go to our networking, there is another tab for virtual switches. We have virtual switch 0, virtual switch 1. So if you see here, virtual switch 0 connected to two uplinks and virtual switch 1 connected to another two uplinks. That means our four NICs, two NICs dedicated for vSwitch 0 and two NICs dedicated for vSwitch 1. Suppose if I select vSwitch 0, in our right side diagram, this is our virtual switch diagram connected to VMNIC 0, VMNIC 1, and these two NICs are connected to one of our port group is management network. That means to access our ESXi host. If you see in our browser, our IP address is 192.168.243.41. That 41 is our ESXi management host IP address. That means vSwitch 0 dedicated for virtual machine traffic and management network traffic. Okay, let's again go back to networking and select vSwitch 1. When you select the virtual switch 1 also connected to two NICs. And if you see here, one connection is configured with iSCSI 1 VM kernel port group, another connection also iSCSI 2. So with interest of our time, I already configured and keep it ready, pre-installation steps. But our main observation is one switch configured with the two NICs and dedicated for iSCSI communications. Okay, and at this point, this vSwitch1 connected to two iSCSI port groups. One is one VLAN, another one is another VLAN, but both are representing as a iSCSI 1 and iSCSI 2. Another way to validate is again go to the networking tab and look for a VM kernel NICs. Our VM kernel NICs also, if you see here, VMNIC 0 dedicated for management network, VMK1 and VMK2 dedicated for iSCSI 1 and iSCSI 2. So this point is represents as a our HP recommendation point. Physical NICs connected to iSCSI storage access. Okay, and another point is configure VM kernel port group for iSCSI network. So VM kernel port group also just now we observed. See port group VM kernel port groups. See under VM kernel NICs we can see two VM port groups are created, iSCSI 1, iSCSI 2, and the name is VMK1, VMK2. So this point only I highlighted here. So VM kernel port group also created. And another point, enable hardware iSCSI HBA or software iSCSI HBA. Some scenarios our customers of us may have hardware iSCSI HBA card, and some scenario if you do not have a hardware iSCSI card, we have to enable software iSCSI. Okay, so to enable that one, again log into our lab system, and to enable the hardware iSCSI or software iSCSI HBA card, Now we have to go to the storage section. So when you go to the storage section, under the adapters tab, we can see VM HBA 0. HBA means host bus adapter 0, 64, 65 and 66. But if you see the name and the model information, if you see there is already iSCSI software adapter is enabled. In general, if it is not enabled also, you can just click on the software iSCSI option. When you click on software iSCSI option, default is in disabled state. We have to select enable state. Okay, this point only I'm trying to explain now. Okay, currently in our scenario, iSCSI software adapter is enabled status and it is online. So this point also verified. And another point is iSCSI bind to VM kernel NICs. So VM kernel NICs we have to be binded to iSCSI software adapter or hardware adapter. So let's quickly log into lab system. How we can bind is select the iSCSI software adapter and click on software iSCSI, and there is an option to when you enable software iSCSI, we can get the iSCSI IQN address. And if you want to configure the CHAP authentication, we can configure CHAP authentication as well. It is a optional. And another option is advanced settings. Under advanced settings, we can see network port bindings. Here only we have to bind our VM kernel ports. iSCSI 1 port group, iSCSI 2 port group, we have to bind. And this IP address you can configure based on your customer location IP series. Okay, and currently, but our key point is VM kernel NICs has to be binded at the iSoftware iSCSI HPA level. Okay, and dynamic targets also. Before explaining dynamic target, let's back to our slide. So iSCSI bind it to VM kernel NICs, we verified. And another point is assign HPE Nimble Storage iSCSI dynamic targets at ESXi host level. So this dynamic targets normally it's provided by the our storage team. Okay, so storage team will provide the dynamic target. Those dynamic target we have to assign it here. Even if you want to assign new one, click on dynamic target and we have to enter the specific IP address. Port number is default 3260. Currently, we already entered the Nimble Storage dynamic targets. So the new one is just for our easy understanding. I click on add. If you do not have any spare IPs, you can just click on remove dynamic target and click on save configuration. Once you click on save configuration, in our recent task, see the rescan all HBA will start automatically. Even during the before adding our iSCSI shared data store, VMware recommend to rescan all our HPS. Okay, currently rescan is in progress. So this is all the 6 steps represent as a our iSCSI shared storage pre-implementation steps. Okay, we have the connectivity and we also have minimally 2 NIC cards and we created VM kernel port group. We enable software iSCSI. We bind it to the VM kernel NIC card and we also added our HPE Nimble Storage dynamic target IPs are entered in our ESXi host level. So completely connection is ready. Now, let me talk about iSCSI shared storage. This point also completed. Now, let me talk about iSCSI shared storage implementation procedure. So, implementation procedure, first point is to discover newly added shared devices, storage devices, we have to perform a rescan. But just now, when we click save changes, it's automatically rescan. But just for safety, if you want to do rescan one more time, again, log into the lab system, select the iSCSI software adapter and click on rescan. So when you click on rescan, in our recent task, you can see rescan HBA task is in progress. It is in the running state. Once the rescan is completed, it will start detecting our newly added HPE Nimble Storage device. We call it as LUN, logical unit number. See, rescan is completed. To verify that the newly added device, we have to go to the devices tab. Under devices tab, you can see Nimble iSCSI disk is added. And Nimble iSCSI disk size is it is showing as approximately 5 terabyte, 4.88 TB. It's close to 5 terabyte disk is added. We can see the name also Nimble iSCSI disk. Okay, so now back to the slide and this rescan portion is completed and Another point is verify that new iSCSI LUN should be detected from the devices tab. So devices tab only, we verified from the devices tab. See, Nimble storage is detected. Okay. Now same way we have to verify the this point also validated. And another point is create a new VMFS data store for iSCSI shared storage. So if you want to create a new VMFS data store, again log into the system and go to the storage tab, and you can choose for a data store tab. In the data store tab, we have an option for new data store. When you click on new data store, see there are multiple options, but for our when we are creating a new data store, the relevant option is first option. And the second option, add an extent to existing VMFS data store. This point is if you have any existing 5 TB LAN, if you want to increase to 10 TB, during that extension only, increasing the data store only, we can choose the second option. And third option is expand an existing VMFS data store extent. So this is also extent and this is also increasing. This is increasing the size. And the second point, let me recap, existing data store by adding a new disk. Slightly similar kind of options for 2 and 3 option. And the fourth option is mount NFS data store. If you are mounting any of the NFS file system, network file system data store, you can choose fourth option. But in our iSCSI data store scenario, the recommended option is first option. Create a new VMFS data store, click on next. And when you click on next, see the Nimble iSCSI disk is detected automatically. And data store name, for our easy understanding, we can mention any name. Let's say Nimble hyphen data store short name is DS hyphen 01. I'm using this name for our easy understanding. Okay. So whenever we see this data store, we can understand, okay, it's a Nimble data store 1. And in future, if we add another data store, we can say Nimble data store 02 and so on. So now click on next. And it says use full disk. If you want to use the full disk, we can use it. And the VMFS latest version is 6. Still, we can use the latest version. No need to use the lower version. So use the full disk, or if you want to set the custom one also, you can set the custom one. And now I'm planning to use the full disk. So click on next. Now see the VMF data store name is okay and disk is detected. Use full disk VMFS version 6. And this is the size it's going to add. So now click on finish. So when you click on finish, it says the entire contents of the disk are about to be erased and replaced with the specified configuration. Are you sure? Yes. We can click on yes. When you click on yes, in our recent task, see the create data store task is VMFS data store task is completed successfully. See, we have Nimble data store is completed. Okay, so same procedure, even if you want to add data store to another ESX host also. Let me open the another tab. Let's select one of our ESXi host. Let's say just now we added the ESX on ESX1. See ESX1, ESXi01 is the host name. Let me add the another ESX. For another ESX also, you can connect to our another ESXi host using the admin credentials. Once we connected, as per our discussion, the pre-implementation step, we should verify the networking, whether we have the physical NICs. We have a 4 physical NICs. And the virtual switches, we should verify whether VM kernel is created or not. iSCSI VM kernel. See, iSCSI 1, iSCSI 2 is created and it is pointed to 2 physical NICs. So that means all are intact. And another point is we have to enable the software iSCSI. So go to the storage tab, adapters, software iSCSI is in a enabled state because it is showing the status as online. When you click on software iSCSI, verify that, see the VM kernel iSCSI 1 and iSCSI 2 ports are binded or not. It's already binded and dynamic targets also added. When you click on save changes, it will start rescan automatically. See the rescan is completed successfully. When the rescan is completed, go to the devices tab. Under devices tab, you can see Nimble storage is detected automatically. It's approximately 5 terabyte. So if you once the device is detected, we are good to create a new data store. So create a new data store and click on next. When I click on next, if it is not detected means we have to do the rescan one more time. See the data store is detected. We can do the rescan one more time. And also do the refresh. and go to the data store tab, refresh. Okay, see when I rescan and refresh, it's created automatically. Okay, without creating the manual, because the targets are already added, we rescanned. And same way, even if you want to add it to the another ESXi host also, same procedure. Let's say now I am connecting to the ESX3. So let me connect the ESX3, go to the root and enter the password. Quickly verify the network settings. Network settings, we have the physical NICs 4 NIC card, VMNIC 0 to VMNIC 3, and virtual switches. We have two virtual switches. Select vSwitch 1, and we already have a iSCSI 1 and iSCSI 2 is configured. Two iSCSIs are configured. That means we are already in the connection between ESXi host and storage. So when you select the storage and select the iSCSI software adapter and click on software iSCSI, and the VMNICs are already binded, dynamic targets are added. So now click on save configuration and rescan. So new data store will detect automatically. Even in the devices, you can see Nimble storage is 5 terabyte is added. Okay, so go to the data store tab and rescan one more time and refresh. It will add it automatically because it's already completely ports are binded and the dynamic targets are added. So let me refresh one more time. It will detect automatically and refresh the screen. See, Nimble data store 01 is created automatically. Okay. Now, if you see this third point, create new VMF data store for iSCSI shared storage. Why I mentioned the name shared storage is the same data store shared between the three ESXi hosts. That's why we call it as shared storage. Okay. So now this point also completed. And another point is now implementation procedure is done. Another point, iSCSI shared storage post implementation steps. So VMFS data store should be available to all ESXi hosts. For our testing purpose, we have connected to three ESXi hosts. See ESX1, first tab is ESX1, and ESX1, when you select the storage, we have Nimble data store. And ESX2, when I select the storage, we have Nimble storage. And ESX3, when I select the storage, Nimble's data store is available. That means this point also verified. So already it's accessing to all our ESX hosts, not only three, even if you have 30 ESX also, same concept. Once you rescan, it will detect automatically. But in our lab, I am able to show you for the three ESXi host. Okay. And another point, create a virtual machine on this new iSCSI data store and test it. That means we are able to successfully create the virtual machine or not. So log into our lab system again. If you want to create a new virtual machine, you can create the VM. Let's say select the ESXi host, right click, a new virtual machine. When we're creating a new virtual machine, you can just select any of the VM name. For example, VM name is VM01, and you can choose the guest OS family. Let's say guest OS family is Windows, and you can choose the Windows version. Let's say 2022, and even latest 2025 also available beta version. Let me select 2022. So now click on next, and you can, while creation of virtual machine, we have to choose the data store, VMFS data store -1. That means Nimble data store only I'm choosing. Click on next, and custom settings, default 2 CPU, 4 GB memory, and hard disk. Hard disk you can choose thick or thin. Always go with a thin. Anyhow, it's a lab system. So click on next and click on finish. So we are able to create the virtual machine successfully on our VMFS data store. Even if you click on VMFS data store and go to the data store browser, see virtual machine 1 is created, VMX file, configuration file, VMDK files also created. Okay, so this validation also completed. This is how we can create the iSCSI shared data store among all ESXi hosts. Okay, that's it. Thank you. If you're watching this video first time, please do view, like, share, and subscribe to the Gnan Cloud Garage channel. If you're already subscribed, I appreciate all your support. Bye for now.